Hi. So I want to talk about how you and everyone else can communicate to Taygetans, Lyrans, Pleiadians, and other beings that you think of highly, or at least like, hey, I want to communicate to someone who's intelligent and who's a good guy, preferably, and who can help us out. But at the same time, this topic is very touchy because everyone will have their own perspective, their own belief systems, and I will catch a lot of shit for having my own opinion and by like going, I don't know, like bypassing someone else's rules that someone else has set already. But what do I mean? Uh, uh, I am not going to communicate this at my best. There's a lot of reasons why, but it doesn't matter. But one of the things is that when we're trying to communicate to higher beings or higher beings, just someone who's more intelligent and not affected by Earth, not affected by the suppressed, toxic, programmed, brainwashing, mind-wiping world. When we're communicating to beings who don't have a case like we do, who don't have their past lives removed and other kind of knowledge, when they have the access, we're like, huh, they're smarter than us, or at least they have more freedom, they have more perception, awareness of what's going on, they have a better outlook, they see like way more point of views than we can, and we're being told. And talking to someone like that is really interesting because we can learn. And there's that perspective where don't be afraid to look like the most stupid person in the room, because when everyone else is smarter than you, you can learn so much. And that's the concept I live with, like trying to surround myself by, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, when you want to meet beings like that, let's say people like Watch Taygetans, Swaruu, Yaski, oh my God, I want to talk to them. And then, oh, you have to be a chosen one. You have to get a message on Discord. Something else has to happen. And then, we have cosmic agencies saying that, hey, by our rules, if anyone else, or like if anyone will get communication with Taygetans and, let's say Swaruu, we're going to do Discord, we're going to do specific things. And this is the only true valid information. It's a very good point. It's a very good point because if someone else, like, let's say, started making videos or blog about what Aquila said, and that would be their channeled message, or let's say they did the whole process in their mind and they started communicating things which completely misrepresented me. I wasn't there. I didn't told what I think, what I do, and everything else. It has zero arguments, but it's just someone else's opinion and their own belief system, their own reality. It completely misrepresents me, and I would not like, hey, that's bullshit. That's a lie. So from my perspective, that person is really completely crashing my reputation, or like giving false information. And if someone else buys it because Aquila said so, is what the other person said in their channeling, then it would really crush me in a way. Like so I understand why cosmic agency would go by that guideline, like, hey, don't misrepresent this. But that's very important because we have to step out of a suppressed, victim, fucked up human being case, and we have to act like gods. We have to get out of this shit that we have been living with and we have been programmed with our whole life, this toxic reality that we live in, to meet them on their level. But at the same time, while we are trying to do that, everyday, never-ending work of, like, let's say shadow work, inner work, spiritual work, everything you're doing to get better, to stay well, it's like never-ending work. You know that. You've experienced plenty. And with that, we have to know, like, this whole new age movement and how people are getting information and everything else. Some will share something significant, something that will really blow your mind, but also hit every single thing that you know is true. You might have not seen it, you might have not experienced it on Earth, but you have experienced it before coming here, and you know it's right. So when you listen to some people, let's say people will listen to Swaruu, maybe David Icke, maybe someone else, they will talk about these paranormal or experiences just beyond Earth. And it's like, damn, like I haven't seen it on Earth, but I know it's true. In my heart, I know this is the thing because you've experienced it before coming here. Now, while we are here on Earth, there are plenty of beings who are watching us every single day, every single thought you have, how you feel, your emotions, everything. And at the same time, they treat you like a prisoner, a dumb one too. Like, you're just stupid. Epstein didn't kill himself. and tons of other things that there are so many points of views and realities and belief systems and stories to buy, and people are having conflicts because, it's a story, here's a story, here's a story, here's a story, and they're all conflicting. They all have some truth in it, but they're all conflicting in a way. And finding that one you can follow for, which is like for a lot of people, Taygetan is a thing. Yeah, their stuff is so freaking good and so freaking true. And there are those that, oh, well, they're not real and all this stuff. Good. That is your belief system. That is your reality. Go with it. But at the same time, people are into having a fight. Like, hey, I'm expressing my belief systems. I'm expressing my beliefs, and it's subjective. It is what I look at, what I think, and I can be completely wrong in your perspective. I can be completely wrong to myself. But for now, everything I'm experiencing seems right to me. I can change my mind at any time. I can be wrong in everything else, but that is fine. And I'm not going to force anyone to buy into what I'm saying and to, hey, I'm the one that's telling truth because I got out of body, because I have some knowledge, because I can do remote viewing and all their bullshit. That doesn't matter to you. No one gives a damn. And that's fine. But when someone else has an opinion and they're like really harsh, acting like they know it all, well, for me, that doesn't work. But for them, it's their truth. And that's okay. And I'm not going to try to crush that person and really attack them or something because they have a different point of view. So with that being said, we're fighting against each other, like divide and conquer. You've heard it tons of times, but that's what's going on. These bad guys infiltrate, hijack, and consolidate every community that has good information. Every group that is sharing some truth and trying to get better and trying to get somewhere. They're being targeted. They're being watched. And it is so easy to have someone from the darker side, even an NPC, even a person that might not even think of it. They have technology, direct energy weapons, ways to skull, and other things that can affect people, what they perceive, how they think, how they act, completely take over. Walk-ins, entities, other beings, consciousness transferring, and so on and so forth. And with all that, it can be a completely good being. They come in looking like, hey, like they're really curious, they want to know, they want to learn, they're here to help. The energy's fine and everything else, but it's like a bug. They're planting it. So there's a Trojan horse because they're going to get into your circle, and that person can either be taken over and controlled, or they're coming in from the very beginning being a spy, so to speak. And then that's hijack. They got into your circle. Now they're going to share the point of view. Now they're going to say something, do something, and all of a sudden, hey, well, it's a lot of good stuff. Yeah. And all it takes is let's say 90% of truth and 10% of lies. And lies will fuck it all up. So that little story can be misleading. That little story can have exaggeration. Let's say someone like Cosmic Agency talks to Swaruu and everything else, and they talk about Yaski, Swaruu, and their experiences, and that is the reality. This is what they're experiencing it. Fine. Someone else watches their video, or someone else does the channeling, someone else does various techniques to communicate to them, and they share the message they got, or Discord chats or whatever else. But all of a sudden they add a few more details than what was said in reality in that chat or communication or whatever. And they start spinning the story to their own advantage, or spinning the story just hey, let's see where that goes. And all of a sudden, it is so easy to hijack various groups just by misleading them, giving a little bit of false information. It can 99 can be true, but that 1% of misleading bullshit is going to fuck it all up. It's going to really mess up people's minds. And there are those that follow information precisely. There are those that, hey, I know what you're talking about. It's in within the knowledge, I'm consciousness. I know a lot of things. I can tune into their belief system and sort of connect with that. Great. But when we don't know word for what was said, when that is not being documented, it is so easy to have tons of conversations about what I think what happened. But it's subjective. For that person, that's their reality. For that person, is that their reality? And all it has to do, consolidate, take over. So they come into your circle, they start spreading lies, giving misinformation and affecting people in their perceptions. And it can be really good for a long time, but it takes so little to ruin it. Just adding a gunpowder into honey, this really fucks it up. And with that, consolidate, take over. All of a sudden, the whole group falls apart. The group that was really going for it and getting good information and getting some wins, and finally is feeling hey, this might go somewhere. Like life might not be as bad as you thought, or like, damn, I didn't know Earth was having actually some help. And like when that happens, crush it, divide people, make like cause the whole chaos and everything else. And you will see like tons of patterns and signs. And if we don't watch what's going on, if we're not being aware of it and we can't identify it, then we just fall for the trap that was set to us. So with all that said, there's also some dangers into, okay, well, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to talk to Swaruu. I'm going to talk to some Lyran guys or maybe reptilians or someone else. And the moment you open up the channel at the same time, let's say you want to communicate to them, but you're also being seen. You're also being communicated to, and not necessarily by those that you wanted to talk to, but by those that want to use you. And entities, the voices call technology, directed energy weapons, other beings just using their technology to tune into you and tell you the story. Other beings putting on the mask and the essence of a being that they're pretending to be. Hey, look, I'm an actor. I'm going to pretend to be Swaruu. And again, misleading story. And all of a sudden we have people doing the channeling and everything else. And like, yeah, sounds like pretty good, but there was that little bit that misrepresented it, or kind of all of a sudden says a whole different story that what they were talking about in the beginning. And it really, again, messes it up. So there's like a lot of dangers, and yeah, we have to confront it. Like, I am talking from the perspective of a lot of people want to be extracted from here. A lot of people want to get help. A lot of people want to see changes, go to the 5D and, you know, be saved and see the world and ETs landing and like finally doing communication and everything else. But that's not happening anytime soon. It's all up to you and what you can do with your mindset, with your consciousness. And I know, like, from some people and groups, this might seem like a very wrong perspective. But at the same time, if we're being told, act like a god, there's so much responsibility. If you want to communicate with beings like Swaruu, with maybe Lyrans, with reptilian queen and Dracos and other things, and like Red Queen AI and whatever is in your circle of, oh, I want to talk to that being or a thing and see where that goes and learn something, or whatever your thing is, it's fine. We have to meet them on their level. First, just being understanding. Like, hey, you know how you have to go to work and you have your own hobbies and things to do, and it's called life? Well, other beings beyond Earth also have one. So when you pick up the phone and try to call someone like, hey, Swaruu, I want to talk to you, don't think that all of a sudden, just because you want it, is going to happen. You have to meet them on their level. A lot of people will live in a way where tons of shit has happened to us one way or the other. We have suffered, we have experienced hardships, we see life one way or the other, a lot of programming, suffering, and other things. And we buy into the story of our life. Everything that you have experienced from the moment of birth until now, maybe even before coming here, you will believe that story because it is everything you've ever seen, heard, and saw and experienced and all this stuff. And when you buy into the story, it's very dangerous because it becomes limiting. Because people forget that your imagination is super freaking powerful. Because the moment you start communicating, you're going to start asking yourself, is this my imagination? Is this a fantasy? Am I making this shit up? And when you have a hard time telling what is real for yourself, when we are defining things by the false programming of this world that has been given to us from our very birth, by misleading us, by taking away our greatest power, then we're fucked from the very beginning. The moment you start communicating, start looking beyond Earth, talking to someone you've never seen and heard of before, just, hey, someone made a video and there's a photo, everything else is your imagination. Everything. And it's hard for me to explain. One, my English sucks because it's a second language. Two, the whole language and everything else, it's really hard to put in words. I'm used to communicating in concepts and my experience and sort of just, hey, connect to me, look into what I've experienced and you'll know it all. This is what you're used to as well before coming here on Earth. But here we're limited to the language and putting everything in words and misrepresenting the meaning and everything else. But all that aside, I don't know, like there's just so many points to this. And it's really hard to communicate every single thing without being slapped and said, you're bad, you're wrong, you're guilty, and everything else. And at the same time, there's so much like I want to give. And maybe like the whole idea of this conversation is we've been like wanting to contact or like at least get better, get more intelligent. And how can we beat this game or get the hell out of this? If we can't beat this game and like this game is rigged from the very beginning, how do we get the fuck out? And yeah, get out of body, tons of techniques and everything else is one thing. But at the same time, communicating with someone that is living beyond Earth, that can give you all the information you need, maybe even more than everything you've ever learned on Earth, is very important. And I don't want to be limited by, you have to be a chosen one to talk to someone on a text chat. Yeah, it is great. It is amazing. But we're like still being framed and put in a box of you have to fit this standard without us having to go way beyond. And I'm talking about, hey, we've been victims, we've been suffering, a lot of shit has happened, but we have to act like gods. Forgetting, but more like trying to drop off our physical case. Everything that has happened to you on Earth, the stories we've been told, the programming, the everyday belief systems and things that are being dropped and pushed at us, limitations and suffering and painful things and everything that has happened to you. It's this life. And if we try to understand the multiverse, aliens and other beings by this life, we're never going to understand anything. We have to, okay, this is what has happened on Earth. But who am I? What is consciousness? What can a godlike being consciousness do? Create, experience everything, know it all and everything else. So if that is me, or however you want to define consciousness and you, the God that you are, when you define it to yourself, you have to start acting like it. For me, it's limitless. Being everything and nothing all at once. Knowing everything, like tuning into, like, I don't have to remember stuff. I look at a subject, focus on it, tune into it, and find the truth within. And each and every one of you does that too. That intuition and everything else we have this knowing within. But then we're being pushed by the programming of this world of what it should be. And when we can drop that, which is like freaking hard, it's not easy, hey, simple for me to talk. But it's a work, it's like a muscle, and like we're barely at the very minimum. And with that, going to that higher level of, okay, I have to be really self-aware. If I am going to communicate to beings like Swaruu and Yaski and other people out there that are freaking smarter than me, to get to their level, I need to be aware of, if I'm trying to talk, am I actually talking to those beings? Am I talking to my consciousness, a part of me that is out there? Or is it actually entities? Is it someone else pretending to talk to me? Is it someone else trying to misrepresent the being? Is it the bad guys? Is it like someone else? And there's tons of groups. Believe me, the whole communication, we don't have to believe me, but the whole communication is really fucked up because we have to really create this amazing place of your imagination and your thoughts and intentions to sort of like catch that gap where you're not going to be targeted. And the simplest way how I could sort of explain and say we can do it is the same way you read some stories, you read a book, you watch a movie, and there's a description of a place. Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, I don't know, some movies that have stood out to you. You might have read some books, and the description of the place, the mountains, the hills, the water and the smell of the flowers and, Sequoia Park or whatever, something that really stands out. When you start describing those little details to yourself, think of what would be the perfect world or location. If you were to talk to the being you want to talk to, and you don't want it to be on Earth, because it's not going to happen. But when you want to talk to beings that are way more intelligent, you have to start creating reality outside of this place, outside of all the programming and targeting and everything else. So that is your own personal world, your pocket world, like like what we would experience when we get out of body. And with that perfect location, you are the creator, you're God now. So what is it? Some people like parks, some people like, let's say, mountains and hills and like a lot of forest and greenery. Others will be like, no, I like the winter stuff. So you're going to focus on what you like, what you prefer, what's important to you in every single detail. If you were to write a book, if you were to write about a scenery, something memorable, something that stood out to you, something that made you feel good, where you felt safe, where you felt content, where you forgot about your human case and you were like, wow, present at that moment, that is the place you want to go to. And when you describe it for yourself, whether you write it down or do it in your mind by thinking about it, you're creating it. Put the intention there. Hey, this is the world, a realm, a place I am going to create. And this is going to be like my own personal pocket world or a room where I will meet the beings I want to talk to. Once you have the description of how it looks like, you become a programmer or a god. What are the rules? Well, the world or the pocket realm or my place is hidden. No one else can find it unless they get a personal invitation from me. 2, like, okay, who's not allowed? If you were to have a bounce guard or like, hey, they're going to be there, they're going to watch, make sure no one's coming that you don't want to get. No Archons, no Reptilians, no Greys, no da-da-da-da-da-da, and you're going to have a whole list of beings you don't want to show up. Who can enter there? Well, specifically, maybe the Swaruu that I have heard about in Cosmic Agency videos, and specifically that aspect of her when she is available, because she is a freaking busy being having her own life, having to deal with tons of stuff. And whenever she feels like she would like to talk to me or would be open for that, I would be very grateful for her to enter that realm and talk to me for even a minute. Don't make like, hey, I am the celebrity, go talk to me because I want you to talk to me because I want to talk to you. Like, no, it's not going to happen. They're busy. These beings have a life and we have to understand that. So if you're like, I want to be extracted, I want to get help, it's all about you. And believe me, they have their own problems and business and things to do. And here it is. Another being, one, or like, wait, we have 7 billion people right now asking for the same shit. I ain't got time for that. They're not going to come and extract you and stuff like that. It's just not worth it because this place is freaking toxic. So once you get out on their level, once you clear out your case, and I'm not clear, like talking about become clear and drop all your problems and issues and programming and beliefs and everything else that might be limiting you and harming you and endangering them. No, but it's a daily work of, hey, do you have any present problems right now? No? Okay. Do you have any beliefs that are getting in the way of you possibly having that communication? Well, yeah, that would be, I don't know if it's just me making it up or if it's real. Good. Let's address that. Let's address your belief system about what is real, what is imaginary, what is like making it up and all the stuff. And once you get sort of like a clear definition for you, and it's going to be different for everyone, how you see and perceive the world, and it's fine. But the biggest tool we have is our imagination. And when we can drop the programming where you imagine stuff and that is fake, what is said on Earth, and make it, you imagine stuff, and it's one out of many truths. It is your reality. It is what you create. That's a progress. When we can look at and identify the thoughts you have, what you think and how you feel. Is it really you or the entities? Is it fake channeling? Is it the Trojan horse? Is it someone trying to misrepresent the being that's trying to give a message? When you can identify and really, really pick it out, and it's not easy. It is not easy because they are so freaking sneaky with the way they talk, with what they say. And we'd have to come up with tons of rules. Okay, well, how do I identify if the being I'm talking to is real, if it's really them? And then it's going through your belief system and defining things. And the best thing I have to say, again, is your essence. Because if we go by the looks, looks can change. Looks can be copied, mimicked, cloned, mirrored, and everything else. If we go by the voice, that can be cloned, mirrored, like AI and everything else. But the essence, how you felt when you were with that being. And well, I never met Swaruu in the first place. Bullshit. You've been out there. Your consciousness. Eventually, from my perspective, we all came at some original place, maybe. And we split into tons of little parts, and it's all us. You are Swaruu. I am Swaruu. You are that Pleiadian or Andromedan, and I am that. I am you, and you are me. And it's a really weird way to look at it, but I'm not talking that you are not an individual being. No, no, no. You are an individual. But if you try to do past life regression, and let's say, look at, okay, earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier. Are there any other aspects? Are there any splits, nexus points, other aspects of me? And I just don't know, from my own perspective and the sessions I've had and everything else, it led to people creating aspects, let's say consciousness, trying to have more aspects, more playtime and everything else. And now we have tons of us running around with, like, let's say people here on Earth who have similar mindset or wants and needs and perspectives. It doesn't have to be all the same, but eventually, like, when we look at that point, it's very hard and weird to explain, especially for me, but we're connecting on that point. And let's say, yeah, what is Swaruu to you? What is that Pleiadian to you? What is that Lyran to you? Maybe reptilian or AI. How do they make you feel? Well, if I was to talk to them, if I was with them, or maybe I remember being with them before coming here, maybe I was on a ship or still am, and I'm just like sort of like in a pod. Well, if that's the case, the essence is the same as if you have ever had a person or an animal or any being here on Earth, and you've had a pretty good relationship with them, you're going to know what they like. A lot of people will lose their pets or loved ones, and weeks later, months later, years later, they have this dream, vivid as can be. The being looks different, but the essence, it's them. You might see them completely different, but when you get close, you know it is them. And that knowingness is what you have. That essence that you connect to, how that being makes you feel, is what you have to go for. And it's one out of many things. I just focus on essence because it helps me the most. So with that, let's say, yeah, if I was to talk to that being, what is it? What's the essence? The intelligence, the content, that will to help others, being very sensitive, very intuitive, having tons of experience and having a really hard time explaining it in a way that people wouldn't have fights about, hey, look, this is what I experienced. And everyone else gets stories and fights about it. Like, you know, like, it's really fucked up. But with that, it's just like one out of many points. It's a huge conversation. I don't know, like, this daily work to get to that level where let's stop waiting to be saved, because no one's going to come to save you. Even if they're trying, it's going to be hard as fuck and it's not going to change overnight. And it's all up to you. It's a sad story, but it's up to you. You're the god. Start acting like one. You've heard this before. But we have to start like thinking, okay, if you want to be done with Earth, what is beyond Earth? What would you be like beyond Earth? And you define yourself. Okay, well, you might not like being called God or something else, but how would you define yourself if you were not limited by this experience on Earth? If you had complete freedom and looking at things from a whole different perspective, if you had the intelligence, knowledge, and the knowing of all your past lives and everything else, what would you be like? When you define yourself, you have to start looking at, okay, well, this is me. This is who I am. I'm not the programmed, fucked up victim that I am on Earth, but I know who I really am at the core. And when you look at that aspect of yourself, the strong, free, happy, loving, and however you see yourself, you connect to it, to the essence of who you are. And if that is the real you, how would you have to start acting, being, thinking, feeling every day on Earth to connect, to sort of become more like that? And it's not like you're going to start flying here on Earth and everything else. The common belief systems and agreements and everything else is going to get in the way, but it doesn't take away your chance to, hey, I'm a creator being. And if I want to talk to someone else who's just as intelligent and you know it all, It's just trying to remember things, like suppressed memory on Earth, but you know everything. I don't have to tell you like stuff, but maybe something will trigger someone and like, hey, they can finally get it. So this communication, meeting on their level, how can you help those beings? Instead of asking for help, to be extracted, to be helped here on Earth, to be guided, to be given something, how could you help them? Because you're a freaking strong being. You're a God, you're powerful, you can do everything, you can manifest anything and everything you think of. How can you help others? And when you ask yourself that question, well, here on Earth, I am a godlike being stuck in a physical human body. And the way I can help Swaruu, the way I can help other Pleiadians or Lyrans and someone else that you want to talk to and connect with, and you find your goal. You find what fits you as a person. For some, it's like, hey, I want to wake up humanity. This is how I can help. If I am a godlike being, one of the things I can do is to try to wake up others. Great. Some people will like, I want to wake up others, but only those that are already awake, that are like lions, that are gonna be there to fight, and I can give some of the assistance. And you don't have to be some guru teacher that knows it all. I don't know anything. I don't know jack shit. It's just my experience, my awareness, how I see things, and I just share the story. I can be completely wrong, and that's fine to me. You just pick out the cherries or whatever you like out of my content, and that is fine. Or you can completely bash me, which is fine as well, because you have your own opinion. But that being said, look at yourself and how can you help? If you want to help, what can you do? If you're a godly being, what would you do here on Earth? I know it's easy for me to talk, but let's say, hey, you're loving, you're a good listener, you are actually into supporting people, you're very good at sports. So if you had some of the interests, personalities, and things that would actually be helping and you wanted to share with others, what would it be? And how could you do it? We don't have to, all of us don't have to be like, hey, we're going to wake up people on Earth. It's not everyone's goal. Someone maybe will feel like it. Yay. Someone wants to do it, but they're going to have lots of hardships. They want to talk, they want to express themselves, but it's really hard to make a video. They might be having social anxiety. They might be way better at writing texts. Maybe they would be much better just talking to certain people. But all we have to do is focus one person today. Affect just one person. If you're a godlike being and you have a thing that you can do for everyone else, choose just one person and affect them. Where it is giving them a compliment, saying, how, wow, you have very beautiful eyes. Or just complimenting them. Acknowledging people around you that you would like to talk to or communicate or feel like, hey, I just felt like doing it. And that is all you need to do. You don't have to save the world. You don't have to wake up everyone. You don't have to have this grand goal. But maybe for today, you just need to impact one person. Maybe just by giving compliment, by acknowledging their existence, by just saying hello and smiling. Sometimes that's all that's needed. And maybe the person that you smile to and or give a compliment to is actually going to be the one that, hey, they actually, have remote viewing. They can get out of body or they can do something else, and a domino effect, boom. So one thing is like trying to be and act like the godlike being, which is really hard. It's not easy because this game is rigged. We're constantly being crashed. There are programs that will, hey, you're going to take care of yourself. You're going to work. You're going to do the inner work and you're going to get to some good place in your life. And bam, the program kicks in. You can't be uptone. You can't win. You can't do tons of stuff. And so there has to be a crash because of this program and everything else. And maybe that's just my belief or maybe not, but I've seen it tons of times with me and others. And if that's what we're going to, like, yeah, it's a never ending fight here. The game is rigged. It's not something you can win, but it is something you can quit and never come back to. And when we talk to these intelligent beings, we have to look at not how they can help us, not how they can extract us and save us and change our lives and be our heroes, but how we as godlike beings can meet them on their level. Let's say, hey, you're free, you're out of Earth, and you want to talk to Swaruu, you want to talk to some Pleiadian or Lyran or Zutrax or Trucion or whoever you know of or have heard of and admire or like or want to talk to. When you have that communication, what would you do? You're free from Earth. You are free from your physical human body case, all the crap and the pain and suffering and everything else that you have ever experienced. It's no longer a thing. When you're out of here, you're not going to think about the pain. You're free from that. You no longer feel pain. You're free. So if you're a godlike being, free and intelligent and have it all, how can you help them? How can you help other beings if you want to do that? Some people just want to quit, get out of here, get out of this duality and never come back. And that is amazing. Others, there are plenty of people that want to fight. There are plenty of people that have been targeted by reptilians or some other groups, and they want to fight back. They want to kick ass. And if you're the kind of person that you're going to have your own little revenge, you're going to teach them a lesson, you're going to get into a fight and, hey, I ain't going to let you fuck with me and you want to hit them back, you're a fighter. So it's like, in a way, you got here, but by playing this bigger game. And where you got trapped or you came here on your own free will or something else has happened, when you get out, you might be into the mindset of, I want to kick their ass. I've been suffering for so long, I want to kick their ass and make them suffer too. And you can have your own goal and maybe you're going to join some forces and, hey, well, if I'm going to help Taygetans and they've been trying to help Earth and fighting some forces or really being like diplomatic and stuff, I am not. I'm a fighter and I'm going to go kick ass. And that might be your thing. Great. Good for you. Go do that. But everyone has different goals. Everyone has different beingness. And we have to look at, like, hey, if I was not affected by this physical case I have, by the traumas, the fake lifetime implants, and tons of other things that has happened to us, but if I was free, if I was limitless, if I could do everything and everything I wanted, if I could manifest anything and you just go on and so forth with who you are, the godlike being, that free being that can do absolutely everything and anything, what would you do? And when you start looking from that point of view, then you connect that aspect that, hey, I'm no longer a victim. I'm a player. I'm a god. I'm on the level of Swaruu or someone I admire. And how can I help? How can I be of service? If you want to serve and be of service and do something, or you just want to chat, you might want to teach, you might want to help out someone, do the healing work. What's going to be your role? Are you going to get out, go rejuvenate, heal, and get out of here and never come back and make sure you're safe and do your own thing, which is admirable and great. That's what I'm going to do. But someone else might be like, hey, I want to fight. I want to help. I want to do something. And this physical reality is very, very engaging. Very engaging. Tons of things to do here. And you don't even have to come here on Earth to be engaged. But when you drop off this case and look from things from that perspective, how would you behave if you were that being on Earth? If you didn't have your own case, or let's say you know who you truly are, it's no longer abused and victim and targeted and helpless and like I don't have visuals, I can't get out of body. It's no longer the old story. You have seen your true self, who you are, who you would be, your personality, what would show off who you are. And when you connect that and put it in a physical human body and start acting from that point of view, you acknowledge the hardships. You don't forget it, which would be great, right? But experiencing that, being aware of how you're being targeted and manipulated and maybe played with. I'm not saying you're completely wrong or anything else, but at times things we want to do is like scripted, and someone else can easily put like us and like use us as puppets, even though our actions seem like I want to do it and I'm interested and I've been getting the truth and everything else. At the same time, we've been kind of messed with. So it's a huge subject. It is a very huge subject, and I haven't even talked about how we can go there, but I guess you get the idea. I mean, I would just feel like instead of waiting for a chat to come and am I going to talk to Swaruu or someone else on text, how can I get to their level? How can I play the game and help them instead of wait for a call and maybe hope that I'm going to be saved or help or something? How can I help them? And acting from that point of view is finally like working it. Being a god, what does that even mean? And once you start getting the definition for yourself and putting goals and, going somewhere with your life, it can be miserable. Like, yeah, you live only once and it's fucked up. So why even bother? Why work out? Because it's all physical, it's all ego and everything else. But do you want to live like fucked up and messed with and with the story you've been told or have been telling yourself? Or would you like to sort of like have a better life? Maybe. Like, it's not going to be easy. It's not like you're going to start acting like a god and everything's going to change, but at least you can try. and see if you can have at least a little bit better experience. And I'm just trying to work on myself, being the best aspect I can be to myself. And when I'm doing good, I can definitely do something for others. And if that impacts others, if that helps them, awesome. If not, well, I'm going to try to get better to see if I can actually help. And that's my thing. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to focus on. You don't have to do any of that. But at the same time, it's like, how do we get on that level? How can we get better and drop this physical case? Drop the belief systems that are forced and fake and programmed and everything else. And I'm looking for tons of ways. This is just one point of view. But anyway, time for me to shut the fuck up and let you go. But for those that have watched this video, please share your thoughts on this. And hey, if you've tried, let's say, define yourself. If you were not affected by this earth, by the case and everything that has happened to you, how do you see yourself? How do you imagine yourself to be? How would you be if, you were free, away, maybe not even in the duality? Maybe the archons or the reptilians and the whole targeting is not a thing anymore. How would you be? And that being, just sort of define it for yourself or share in the comments and stuff. But anyway, you get the idea. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.